I know that my speeches are usually a forerunner of some little political anecdote, and I was trying to think of one just then, and the only one I could come up with was there was this chap called Gaius Caius Longinus, and he had another mate called Marcus Junius Brutus. Anyway, otherwise known, aka Cassius and Brutus. And they came up with this splendid idea that they'd change the government by getting rid of this bloke called Julius Caesar. And one might think of two other characters who gave a press conference standing out in front of us for 17 tortuous minutes. All I can say about yon Cassius, who had a mean and hungry look and thought too much such men are dangerous, that he's obviously neither Oakshott nor Windsor, but they didn't come to a very good end. First and foremost, as the Leader of the Senate, I'd like to thank my colleagues, and I will name them. Obviously, my Deputy, Senator Fiona Nash, Senator for New South Wales, the person who is responsible for so much of the diligence and organisation that is part of our team, and it is really a team. You don't read in the paper what happens in our team because our team doesn't leak. Our team is a tight ship. Our team works together very closely. We at times have our differences, but no one ever knows about them because we have a team that works, and there's a lesson in politics in that for everybody. I'd also like to acknowledge Nigel, wherever Nigel is. Hey, Nige. We don't catch up till another 3 hours from now, Nige. Nige has been an incredible colour of the tapestry of the National Party. His work in Indigenous affairs is really going to be one of the hallmarks of this election. And when people at the start took his position as this will be interesting, now they don't. Now they know that they have immense respect for the work that Nigel is doing, and Nigel really will change our nation. And where our nation goes with Indigenous affairs will be by reason of Nigel Scullion from the Northern Territory. Senator John Wacker Williams, it's always great. John is he has sort of section command of the north-west of the New England electorate now as we try to make sure that he controls Inverell, and we've got Bede Burke here looking after Tamworth, and we have Adam Marshall now looking after the Northern Tablelands. And the reason that we have got momentum in New England is by reason of John Williams. John Williams, who decided that he wasn't just going to sit back and listen, he was actually going to mount the challenge. He was going to walk up to the independent and actually take him on. So Wacker, I thank you so much for that and for all the work you do, especially with those who are not seen, who are dealing with hard times with banks and bankruptcy, and you continue to work with great resolve in that area. Bridget McKenzie. Bridget, you're a tireless worker, and the work you do in every committee. We try to keep pulling Bridget back, but she keeps going forward. She's, we just have got to stop committees because Bridget seems to be on every one of them. But Bridget is a tireless worker, and she works with so much diligence in the chamber and in the committee work that you don't see. And another person who's not here, and I left him to last, not because he's last, because he means so much to all of us, Senator Ronald Boswell. Ron Boswell is the epitome of work rate, and if you could just see him now, you would think that he is starting his political career, not finishing it. Every day he is just relentless in pursuing issues, and Ronald is the epitome of what this party is. He loves this party. He has given his life to this party, and very soon he'll be leaving this party. So, Ron, it has been an absolute honour to work with you. I'd also like now to welcome, because we're a party of renewal, a guy who I've got a rough idea about, but he's not here, and I'll talk to him about that later on. His name is Matt Canavan. And Matt is on his way into the Senate. He has, as Fiona says, he has a brain the size of a planet. He is one of the most terrifying debaters that you will come across, and he will be a great addition to our Senate team. And to come with him is a person who's just straight out terrifying, and that is Barry O'Sullivan. Barry has managed to get himself more press for all the wrong reasons than any other senator, apart from myself, who's ever come to the place. Ladies and gentlemen, 1913, under a tree at Kellerberrin in Western Australia, a group of farmers frustrated with the influence of urbanised power of the capital city and the political direction of Labor, formed the Farmers and Settlers Association, also known today as the National Party. 100 years later, that same party is about to engage on a great political battlefield. Our opponent has one cause but many banners. They are called the Independent. They are called the Greens. They are called Labor. They are called Palmer's United Party. They are called Katter's Australia Party, and there are others. For all these groups, the destruction of the Nationals takes much of their time that they should be using to concentrate on others to help Australians rather than to vilify us. They are sustained by vitriol and driven by anger. They will bend the truth. They will assert that promises equal deliveries. They will assert that things are built when they're not built. And they will ignore reference to their responsibility as to where our nation now finds itself. But they must stand behind their government, the Green Labor Party Independent Alliance, the Glee Club. They must stand behind the $257.4 billion in gross debt that we currently have. They must stand behind the $370 billion in forward debt that we're going to get because of their guide and tutelage. They must explain to us how on earth we're going to pay this money back. They must stand behind the fact that defence spending is now at its lowest ebb, ladies and gentlemen, in GDP terms since 1938. They must stand behind the financial, human and animal welfare disaster which is now seen in the cattle industry because of their decisions on the live cattle trade. They must explain to us, these Green, Labor Party and independent members, why they stood by and chose to do nothing when a person of conviction who would actually believe in regional Australia would have stood up and been counted. They must accept that an NBN with no cost-benefit analysis has sucked up already of not your money, it's borrowed money actually, $5.3 billion and is on its way to $90 billion in debt. That will take money away in the future from other worthwhile purposes. That will take money away from subsidised pharmaceuticals, the pharmaceutical benefit scheme, which so many of you people maybe don't even realise you're using. I know, because my mother had breast cancer, of the cost of certain drugs and what it costs. The fact that if you are a pensioner, you can get a drug for $38.50, but if you paid the actual cost, it'd be in excess of $4,000 a script. And that's why there's something sacred about making sure you're financially prudent, because the cost is exceptional when the money is gone. And people don't have the money to pay for those sort of drugs. The cost is also seen in the hospitals that we won't be able to properly staff, in the money that goes to the states for the police force we won't be able to properly run, for the defence force where we won't be able to get an effective platform for. This is the cost of financial imprudence that will then rest with the Australian people. And there's only one group of people who can pay that back. That's you. You people have to pay it back. And that's why it's so insulting when you find the independent member for New England and the Treasurer saying that certain deficits are not a problem, because it's not a problem for them, it's a problem for you. They must accept that it is absolutely ludicrous that in 2012, the NBN, as an expense item, spent more on travel than it earned in income. They must accept that it is ludicrous today that the biggest income item of the NBN is interest for the money that it has in its bank account. The trouble with the money it has in its bank account is it's borrowed money that they're paying interest on. So they earn more money from interest than they do from the revenue of actually being a corporation. Yet the capitalisation of this corporation is now vastly in excess of about 95% of other companies on the stock exchange. They must accept that what we have now with the NBN is the acronym for the next budget nightmare. It is a fiasco, a total and utter fiasco. And they may laud Armidale with 2,500 connections, but the other night in estimates I said, how many connections for Uralla? None. How many corrections for Guyra? None. How many corrections for Bendemeer, for Tenterfield, for Glen Innes, for Tamworth? But of course, They're not connected. This thing is a rolling fiasco. They're not rolling out broadband, they're rolling out a fiasco. Our adversary will stand at a distance to the detail of the debate, because there the truth is grey. There the audience is deprived of the clarity to call them into account. Our opponent will deify their own assertions of long past insults and try to inspire a sectarian balkanisation, a tribal sectarian fight based on their own divisive mythology. As we borrow from Kipling, we will keep our heads when all about us are losing theirs. We will trust ourselves when all others are doubting, and we will be making allowance for their doubts. We will be lied about, but we will not deal in lies. We may be hated, but we will not give way to hate. And we will humbly walk with the people we intend to serve. Our message is one for the future. We have fought and achieved a dam policy to build dams and develop the next stage of agriculture. And as Deputy Chair of the Coalition's Dams Task Force, I look forward to being part of the process of the construction of giving people in our north and our south and in Tasmania hope, of giving them a new avenue to regional wealth. I look forward to the pride of the Australian people as they see the D11s and the D10s and the D8s moving earth and the excavators, actually constructing things that are tactile, that are real, that take our nation to a higher place. We have fought for a new zonal rebate scheme and a trial of 5 local government areas to turn fly-in, fly-out workers to fly-in workers who live in the area and take their families with them. We believe that billeting men in barracks and dongas is not the ideal family situation. We believe that families should live together and live together in regional areas. We have worked for and delivered the Infrastructure Partnership Scheme, which was one of the premier policies of the Coalition, developed by the National Party. And this is a scheme that will build the Inland Rail to create a new corridor of commerce from Brisbane down to Melbourne, so that people in the inland have a great future, a future where they can start on a lower capital base. We will build the new dams and the new abattoirs. You know we will deliver in the future because we have delivered in the past. When you see the University of New England, you know that the work was done by the National Party and was a former member for New England, David Drummond, who was responsible for this. When you drive down a federally funded New England highway, you will see the work of the former Deputy Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Ian Sinclair. When you see the Royalties to Regions program, you will see the work of the National Party leader, Brendan Grills. When you see the diesel fuel rebate, and when you still have it, you will see the work of former Deputy Prime Minister John Anderson. When you see the upgrades of regional hospitals and universities, and that money is being spent from places where surpluses were provided by a prudent government, a coalition government, a National Party and Liberal Party government. When small businesses need a safety valve, when they need a door that is open, when they need to challenge the status quo, when they need that second voice, it is the National Party that they go to. When the insane idea came forward that a broad-based consumption tax delivered to you by the PowerPoint in your house will somehow affect global climate, it was the National Party that stood up and led the way so that others might follow in our path. When the Australians have concerns about excessive foreign ownership on our sacred asset, on the land we stand on, it is the Nationals that, derided by so many, still take the fight up. And now it is our current leader and future Deputy Prime Minister, Warren Truss, who is chair of that committee, to make sure that we stand up for the silent majority who says that we want to make sure that Australia remains predominantly and unsurprisingly in Australian hands. We take these challenges, ladies and gentlemen, not because they are easy. We take these challenges not because they are hard. The National Party takes these challenges because they are right. The National Party are the people who, through my past 20 years with them, have made it their cause to do what is right quietly. They are good people who accept that their duty to their nation is to quietly be part of the solution. They are people that we all know. They are the Lenore Johnsons. They're in this room tonight. They're the Beads. There are so many people that have stood up and done the right thing by our nation quietly. They are people who I'm humbled to be around. What is our vision? Our vision is that we are not shy of our Christian heritage, that we believe that the defence and ownership of our soil is paramount, that our cities in the future will have skyscrapers and the signage on that skyscrapers will be international champions that are Australian, that the prudent culture of the family farm is the best prospect to protect our nation's treasury. Our culture is Australian families who will own their Australian house. Our culture is Australian families who will own and make a profit and have a decent style of living from their Australian farm. Our caution is well alive to the threats to our nation that have been displayed in no better way than this week when the plans to the ASIO building on the other side of the lake were stolen. This election allows us, the philosophical battleground, to ventilate the views of this conference, especially where we have national candidates in Capricornia, Kennedy, Richmond, Page, Lyne, myself in New England, Hunter, Throsby, Lingari, Barker, O'Connor, and Senate seats in Queensland, New South Wales, Western Australia and South Australia. And it's great to see James Stacey here, who I wish all the best. One of the interesting moments that I've seen in country hall meetings that I've been part of in the New England comes when I ask the question that if the independents win and the polling is correct pointing to the coalition government, who in the cabinet will ventilate the concerns of the electorate? And of course the answer is no one. Why vote yourself into opposition? Why give Ms Gillard a vote of confidence? Do we honestly believe that this country could take 3 more years of this government? My final point is to say thank you. Thank you to this party that I've been part of for so long. Thank you to the overwhelming solidarity. Thank you to my colleagues in Queensland and the understanding that they have given me in knowing that the task that is before me. Thank you to the welcome home given by New Englanders. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a valedictory speech. This is a staging point. This is a platoon harbour. It is a tactic session. It is the embarkation point from which others who believe in our nation's journey and our nation's future will join us. So once more, unto the breach, dear friends, once more, thank you and God bless.